Good evening. Welcome to the committee meetings for July 28th, 2020, the Finance and Operations Committee meeting and the Education and Pupil Service Committee meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin our meetings, I'd like to take a moment of silence, have a moment of silence for first for Rashid Edgefield, who was an Upper Darby student who tragically lost his life this past Saturday. His funeral and memorial service was today. He actually spoke at the 2019 graduation, so let's please have a moment of silence in honor of Rashid Edgefield, please. Thank you. I would also like to have a moment of silence for Nick McCosey, the former state rep and father of the former mayor, Tom McCosey, a fixture in Upper Darby. Let's have a moment of silence for Mr. McCosey, please. Thank you. During this unprecedented time, while schools are closed and social distancing requirements are in place, the Upper Darby School District needs to continue certain aspects of its business, which includes decisions concerning pandemic planning. For this reason, the Upper Darby School District will continue regularly scheduled school board meetings while Governor Wolf's emergency declaration is in place. It is the plan of the school board to hold these meetings with the minimum required departures from normal operating procedures. The Upper Darby School District School Board COVID-19 Special Operating Procedures document outlines expected departures from those normal operating procedures and the policy justification for such departures. At the start of each board meeting held during the emergency declaration, the board will review the departures from normal operating procedures as well as their justifications. While schools are closed and social distancing requirements are in place, the Upper Darby School District School Board finds it necessary to hold virtual school board and school board committee meetings to complete required business. These virtual meetings will allow for public viewing and participation. Following practices already in place for regular meetings, all virtual school board meetings, in addition to allowing near real-time public viewing and participation, will be recorded and the recordings made available after the meeting. In order to hold virtual school board meetings, adjustments need to be made following existing board policy. These adjustments have been outlined in the Upper Darby School District School Board COVID-19 Special Operating Procedures. Dr. McGarry, Dr. Council, wrong doctor.
Thank you, Board President Brown, and good evening, everyone. Upper Darby School District residents who wish to submit comments have been provided with two ways to do so. They were to send an email to committeequestions@upperdarbysd.org. They could also leave a voicemail at 610-789-7200, extension 2000. Voicemails left at this number are forwarded to the committeequestions@upperdarbysd.org email. The board will consider public comments respective to each agenda item prior to the board taking action on the agenda item. To be clear, all comments or questions for an agenda item must be received by the end of the presentation. These comments or questions will be read at the conclusion of the committee meeting. Please note that there is a 7 to 10 second delay on the live stream. The board will provide wait time following each agenda item in order to assure that all comments and questions are received. A link to the district's official YouTube channel has been shared in the committee meeting advertisement and a subsequent parent link communication across the district's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter social media accounts and posted on the district's website. Some or all of the school directors will participate in the meeting with Google Hangouts, and through that technology will both listen and respond to items addressed during the meeting. School directors participating virtually will be deemed to be present, and their votes will be recorded in the same manner as any members physically present. School directors participating virtually will also monitor the video feed in the same manner as the general public. Superintendent Dr. McGarry will join us virtually. Board President Brown and I will be physically present for the duration of the meeting. District staff who may be called upon to provide information will participate virtually as well. District staff and consultants will present remotely or in person as appropriate. Thank you, Board President Brown.
Thank you, Dr. Council. I really appreciate your help. Great information. The meeting of the Finance and Operations Committee will please come to order. Roll call, please. Board Secretary, Mr. Rogers. Thank you.
As I call your name, please state that you are present and can hear the proceeding. Dr. Haig,
I am present and I can hear the proceeding.
Mr. Desnoyers,
I am present and I can hear the proceedings.
Mr. Warsavage,
I am present and can hear the proceedings.
Mr. Neal,
Present and I can hear the proceedings.
Mrs. Dawes, Mr. Fields,
I am present and I can hear the proceedings.
Mrs. Curry,
I am present and I can hear the proceedings.
Mrs. Mitchell,
I am present and I can hear the proceedings.
Mr. Brown,
I am here. Ms. Dawes will be joining us in progress shortly. Just to give you a heads up. The following motion shall be applicable for tonight's Education and Pupil Services Committee meeting, the Finance and Operations Committee meeting. Policy 003 allows the board to suspend policies or parts of policies when appropriate. Therefore, due to the current ongoing crisis and the governor's closure order, I make the following motions to suspend language in 2 of the board's policies until the next regularly scheduled meeting. Policy 006.1, which regulates attendance at meetings via electronic communications, I move to suspend the language requiring board members to be present. Specifically, the language would be, a majority of board members shall be physically present at a board meeting when a board member attends through electronic communications. And Policy 006, which governs other requirements of board meetings, I move the suspension of language requiring that those members of the public wishing to participate be present. Specifically, the language in the section titled Public Participation would remove the words that reads, present at a board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second, this is Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please state your name for the record by saying I oppose. Those abstaining, please say I abstain and state your name for the record. The motion carries. I will now turn over the Finance and Operations Committee meeting to my capable co-chair, Dr. Haig.
Thank you, President Brown. Mr. Rogers, please begin with an overview of your agenda items for this evening.
tonight we have one agenda item that is informational. It is in regards to a demand response program. Mr. Marvin Lee, the district's controller, will introduce and provide an overview of what a demand response program is as a new electricity cost reduction initiative. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lee, and he's going to take his presentation from here.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marvin Lee, and I work out of Mr. Rogers' office in the business team. Our office has been working very hard on heavy-duty and complex issues of opening the schools on the COVID-19 lately. However, this evening, we will notch down the intensity just a little bit and give you a lighter-duty presentation on new energy savings initiative. Next page, please. So we are introducing a new initiative called Demand Response Program. The Demand Response Program is a great way to become a responsible corporate citizen in energy space, and it's also a great way to save money in electricity. So what is PJM's Demand Response Program? PJM is the largest grid operator in the United States. They cover many states like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Maryland. You can see the PJM's territory in the red area circled in the map on the left-hand side of the slide. One of the main responsibilities of PJM is to maintain the integrity of supply and demand of electricity to prevent any power outage. When there's a high demand of electricity, usually due to high temperature or high humidity, PJM has two options to meet the demand. Number one is from the supply side, they can work with the power plants to generate more electricity, or they can work with the large organizations like us to reduce electricity demand. By pledging to lower the electricity demand during the high demand time, the school district can expect revenue from PJM. Next slide, please. So how does it work? The program year starts between June and May, and the demand response events used to take place only in the summertime in the past, but 2021 is the first year that the program expands to the winter time. On a potential emergency date, we will get an email and text warning several hours in advance, basically telling us that today may be the day. And PJM will continue to manage supply and demand of the electricity of the day. But if the PJM fails to meet the demand of the electricity, they will give us 30 minutes to lower our demand based on our pledge. The event usually starts at 2 or 3 p.m. and lasts between 4 to 5 hours. The good news is that the last time the PJM called the emergency event was back in 2013, and there has not been a single emergency event in the last 7 years. And another good news is that even if there's no event, we will still receive revenue from the PJM. There are 3 steps to participate in the program. We need to select a partner, we need to select schools, and communicate to the stakeholders. So the school district will have to register the program through one of the curtailment service provider, CSP, and there are 95 pre-approved providers in the PJM region. We will issue an RFP and receive proposals from each company. We will review them based on their expertise and experience, availability of the real-time monitoring tool, or revenue split ratio between the CSP and the school district, and any cost of equipment. And we're going to evaluate their on-site support and any other value-added services. Next page, please. After we select the CSP and the school district will go through the process to select the participating schools and determine the demand reduction rate of each school. So PLC, the peak load contribution, indicates each school's peak demand of the prior year, and we are looking for schools that has at least 100 kilowatts. Then we're going to be reviewing what we can turn off during the emergency event to lower the demand. We want to go for HVAC units and lighting units, and we never want to touch data, communication, or food refrigeration units. Based on the last year's PLC, we will likely to recommend 7 schools. They are Upper Darby High School, Drexel Hill Middle School, Beverly Hill Middle School, Highland Park, Barnum Inc., Westbrook Park, and Kennedy K Center. And a couple of things to note is that the participating school may change year by year, and the demand reduction recommendation rate can change year to year as well. After we select the site, we will be focusing on communication to our stakeholders. After the nomination process is completed, we will be announcing the program to the principals. Then we will also put a disclaimer in Scilitron, our user facility system, to make sure that all building users are aware of the potential emergency event. On the day of the event, our office will be calling each principal and building custodian to let them know what's happening. And then we will be sending out email notifications to all building users. Next page, please. So next, the most exciting part of the program is the potential revenue. The Upper Darby School District spends approximately $820,000 in electricity on an annual basis. And I'm not going to go over the chart in detail, but the PJM pays $ per kilowatt per year, and the revenue rate changes each year. And as an example, in the year 2 of the program, based on 50% or 65% reduction of the 7 participating schools, we can expect between $68,000 to $88,000 of the revenue, which represent about 8 to 10% of the total electricity expenditure. One more important thing is that even if we completely fail to perform, there's no penalty for the school district, and we're going to still get some money, but a lot less money than anticipated. So high-level schedule is that we will be going out to the market with RFP in the winter of 2020, and we're going to come back to this board with a contract recommendation in the spring of 2021, and the program will start in June of 2021. That concludes my presentation, and thank you so much for your time, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. This is Dr. Hague again. That was a very informative presentation. I have a couple quick questions, and then maybe I'll open it up to other board members' questions or comments. The first one is just why the initial year, the dollar amounts are significantly lower than for subsequent years. I'm just sort of curious about that.
Yeah, so PJM goes to the auction process to select the rates, and they usually go out 3 years in advance to select the rate. So that rate that you're looking in the a first year was determined 3 years ago. So that reflects that market condition of the 3 years ago. So that's why, and we have a next 3 years rate set. So next year we're going to get to know 2024 and 2025 rates. So you can see the estimated capacity rate that's not determined yet.
Gotcha. Thanks. That makes sense. And then the second question I had was, do we have a recommendation yet? I saw that you said 50% or 65% for our rate reduction. Are those sort of the two that we're considering, and we haven't decided between those two yet? Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's going to be the total, a final rate will be determined based on the site visit. So we're going to be looking into each school's PLC, peak load contribution, and we're going to be looking into all major units in each school. So we want to select the rate that we can attain. So it may be a case that we can't do 50%. It may be a case that we can do a lot more than 50%. So that's to be determined based on the site visit.
Great, that makes sense. And then just one last question, just sort of for the public. This is listed as an informational item, not an item for board action, and I see there's an RFP. Is that because this is like a professional service? Is this, or is it because we're not going out to bid for some time? Is that really the issue?
The reason this is informational, so we are going out to the RFP. It's not a item that we're purchasing through the bid process. It's a professional services that we will be selecting through the RFP process. And there are 95 companies that we can select from. And yes, so it's an RFP process.
And Dr. Haig, to add to that, we are, although it's listed as informational, this is really to give the board the idea that, we'd like to move forward with this and proceed with the RFP. The board approval would come when the RFP is presented to the board for approval. And because there's such a far out deadline on this, we're talking about the winter of 2020, we will most likely come back with an update at a later point to move this forward in the process. We're just trying to get out ahead of it so that the board's aware of, what we're looking into and the potential savings, so that it doesn't come up, in a short notice or just one presentation. We knew that we were going to start looking into this last year, so now is the time Marvin and I decided let's get ahead of it and just make everybody aware of, the work we're doing and the reasons why.
Thanks. I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everyone. Are there other comments from the board?
Yes, this is Ed Brown. Mr. Lee, I just have a quick question. In your research, are you aware of any other districts that have already implemented this program and have realized savings as a result of it?
Yeah, I started working on this program back in 2011. I started with the 60 schools in Philadelphia School District, and I was able to expand the program to more than 100 schools. And Philadelphia School District was collecting more than nearly $1 million a year from the program, and it was a very successful program, and the employees bought in, and the students bought in, and it was very feel-good program, and that saved a lot of money for the school district.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Haig again. If I could just jump in and to clarify that we're sort of guaranteed money, right? We're guaranteed a certain amount if there's no event, and then a larger amount if there is an event, and we're able to reduce our demand. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are there any other comments from the board?
This is Don Field. I have a question. Does the upcoming construction for Aronimink affect it as a building participating in this program?
Yeah, it does. So if we are anticipating a construction of the Aronimink, the best course of action is not to select Aronimink as one of the potential sites, so we don't have to be penalized or we don't have to worry about it.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
This is Dr. Haig again. Thank you, Don. That was a great question. Do we have any comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
Thank you, Ms. Buford. So I believe that's it. I suppose we can have a review of agenda items if you'd like, Mr. Rogers, but of course we only had one agenda item. Not sure how you feel about that formality, but perhaps we should simply have a motion for adjournment.
That works.
I'll move for adjournment then.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Brown, should I say motion carries, or is that your job?
Motion carries. I was supposed to do the other part, but motion carries. Meeting adjourned.